We are here in the matter of KA, case number 24-07080GM. This hearing is being recorded on Zoom and live streamed on YouTube.
And this matter comes before the court for a review of a temporary guardianship that I granted at our last hearing on September 9th of this year to the Holliers. I do see both the Holliers and Mom, Miss Andrea Allen, present. I did receive some submissions from Holliers regarding some text that were exchanged right around the time of the last hearing, that is around September of 2024, for my consideration in deciding today's hearing. So I guess the way I'd like to proceed at this time is first swear in Mom, Miss Andrea Allen, and see what you have been up to since that date. I also have my old, they are, home studies that were performed back in September. I did not update that for the purpose of today's hearing, but I certainly can do that if it's appropriate at this time. So without any further ado, Miss Andrea Allen, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Very good. And Miss Allen, since we last had a hearing in September, what have you been doing? I guess I'll take first, to support your own mental health. Have you been in counseling or gotten prescriptions or anything of that nature?
Yes, Your Honor. I can say I did exchange some text messages. I was a bit overwhelmed, and it was unnecessary. And I have taken the steps. I am back on my meds. I went to Network 180 and got back on my meds. And in counseling, I've also taken up going to church. And I've gotten baptized, just trying to get my mental health together. And I'm also going back to school. So in this 3 months, I've accomplished quite a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Very good. And you went and you managed to see a psychiatrist at Network 180 and they could update your prescriptions?
Yep.
Very good. Who did you see there?
I can't think of the name. It was a lady because I had to go for Network 180 because I have Medicaid and Medicare. They can only do so much. So I had to go to get to the psychiatrist. It takes a minute. So I'm still waiting for the first date, but I'm on the meds because I have to go through Pine Rest, who takes it. So I have to go through their emergency. So I'm still getting through the process to get the psychiatrist part, but I'm on the meds part. So we're in the med stage.
That's great. And you utilize the Pine Rest, the drop-in facility that they have. No, that's a great resource. I'm glad you did that. How long since you started your meds again? How long ago?
After I exchanged those text messages with the Holliers, I had to look in the mirror and realize that's not going to help the situation. So
good. No, that seems like a real positive development. How about other, now you mentioned you're going to school. Where are you going and what are you studying?
I'm going to GRCC for social work.
Okay, very good. Well, we're going to have an ongoing need for folks in the social work field for sure. So, and how about your living situation in terms of housing and where you're living? How are you managing there?
I'm currently in my daughter's room right now. That's fully furnished. Just paid my rent. I'm on Section 8. I get a check in the beginning of the month. My bills are always on time. I get food stamps. I have the support I need to be able to take care of everything she needs and what I need.
Very good. And are you at the same address you were last time? Okay,
yes.
Which is I want to say Blossom Southeast in Grand Rapids.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, very good. So you managed to stay in the house and got things squared away. And are you living by yourself there, or do you have
Yeah.
anyone else living with you?
Nope. It's just me and my baby whenever she comes home.
All right. Okay. All right. And how has have you been doing any visitation or visits?
And that's the one thing I'm still on the wait list to even do it. Like they have a wait list. And so I literally haven't seen my baby at all.
And the visits I ordered were at a supervised YWCA, and they have safe connections, but there's a wait list to get into that program.
Yeah. Yes.
Is there any other way that we could do a safe exchange with a relative or someone else who's involved in the situation, who would be able to supervise visits from your perspective?
I'm gonna be honest, Kiana is the only family I really have. I don't I spent Thanksgiving alone. So
And have you been able to do any calls or video visits, or just nothing at this point?
Nothing.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add, Miss Allen, to your testimony at this time?
I just want to say I apologize for my actions. I did reach out to Rachel to apologize to her. I was not in a good spot, and that's why my daughter ended up where she was. And in September, I didn't take it how I needed to, but in this 3 months, I have learned a lot, and I am growing to be the mother I need to be. And I know when you put that 3 months in September, it is for the better of my child. And I just want you to know that I have put that in perspective, and I am safe enough for my child to come home.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Miss Allen. It does seem like you are taking, some positive steps and certainly in the right direction. Thank you. All right. And I do see we've been joined by Ms. Kirsten Harder from the Department of Health and Human Services. Ms. Harder, the last report I received from your office, I think was dated September. Would you be able to do an updated investigation regarding Miss Allen?
Yes. If you send an order over to my office, I'm more than willing to do that. My concern is that, like she mentioned, there has not been any visits or phone contacts in the last 3 months.
Do you have any suggestions as to what I could order to make that happen, especially now that we're into the holiday season and everyone, of course, those connections become even more important?
I don't know if he recommended Journeys as well or just the Y, but Journeys is another agency that can handle supervised visitation.
I had some negative experiences at Journeys, so I was not recommending it back then. Have you had people go there and had it work out recently?
I can't speak to like the last 3 months, but within the last year, I have had people go and have had positive experiences. But I do understand. I hear things sometimes, but I haven't heard anything recently.
Okay, well, and I'm fully aware that number one, we don't have very many options for supervised visitation, and number two, people and personnel in situations change over time. So, it's possible that what wasn't good a year ago is okay now. So, it's nice to know that Journeys is at least another option. And of course, the other piece of Journeys is it's a little more expensive from my recollection. I did have some families utilize that a couple of years ago, and I do recall there was a cost. However, I also recall that Journeys gave a nice written report at the end of the visitation that
They do.
Indicated to me how things were going. That was really helpful for me to kind of set the case in the right direction. So, all right. Anything else you'd like to add, Miss Harder?
I have not talked to Miss Allen in the last 3 months, but I can say that I have worked with her family and her children in regards to both Kiana now and her older daughter, Journey. And this is been a common occurrence where she burns bridges with people and then has, issues. And I want to make sure that she's addressing those, the mental health aspect, substance use, and having that positive connection with her daughter. I think that's so important. And I'm hoping that she's really making those changes in order to be the best parent that she can be.
Very good. No, and do you have a current solid phone number where you can reach Miss Allen?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I'll bounce back to Miss Allen. Miss Allen, I didn't ask you about ongoing counseling. We did touch on the medication. Did Network 180 or Pine Rest recommend any counseling appointment?
I go through since Kiana was born, through Arbor Circle, the counseling, a therapist, and they were seeing Kiana too, but she got her cutoff was when she was about 8 months. They stopped doing visits, the nursing visits. So I do the I have a therapist I call Sarah when I do have any, she brought me a trauma survival book thing to fill out, like activity stuff. And, so I'm trying. I'm trying.
When was the last time you were able to actually, sit down with a therapist from Arbor Circle?
Probably about a month ago.
Okay.
I've just been trying to keep myself distracted and keep my head level.
Right.
I've just been taking my meds and just trying to just get my mental health together. And I feel like I'm doing good.
Good. Well, it sounds like you got a pretty good relationship with a counselor there at Arbor Circle because of past work you've done. I certainly would, my experience, I preside over the county's adult mental health court, and these folks are in a lot worse situations than you because they're all facing felonies, in the criminal context, and that's not the case with you. But I have found in working with folks that if they can get the combination of taking their meds and then going to counseling, because counseling gives you that kind of objective. Yeah, exactly. An outlet. And you've shared right. Some people, are fortunate enough to have a relative or someone else who can fill that gap for them, but not everyone. And I just having spent a weekend with my own relatives, your relatives don't always give you the correct advice every time either if you turn to them. So, the nice thing about a counselor is because of their professional training and also their, the fact that they are very scrupulous about keeping everything confidential. It is a great resource to have. And I certainly would encourage, returning to that person you've built that relationship with at Arbor. And, it just like it's hard to schedule a psychiatrist now, it's a little bit hard to schedule a counseling appointment. But boy, if you can get on their calendar for, every other week or something, just to have that resource to, talk about where you are and where you want to get to.
And my therapist is on call. I can call her in the middle of the night if I need to. So I love working with her. She's actually awesome.
That is great. Well, I just encourage you to set up a couple regular appointments, even if you feel like things are okay, it's not an emergency. Just kind of it's like auto maintenance, you change the oil or whatever so you don't have an emergency coming up on you in the next couple of weeks or a month later or something like that. Good. No, I think that would be terrific. And if we could you give a number to Miss Harder so she can reach out to you?
It is 616.
All right, perfect. I will give you a call after the hearing is over. And we can touch base.
I do want to add a note to, I do burn a lot of bridges because I like to hold things in. And that's one thing I've learned in this 3 months is why I had to apologize to Rachel and them because, my mental health wasn't right and I tend to overreact. So I've learned patience in this 3 months. I'm spending the holidays alone. not having any family to call has opened my eyes a lot. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that would pull at anyone's heartstrings, like I said, and however, I've learned, through my work with folks in the court, you view mental illness as a disease or a sickness, and just like I guess if you don't take your blood pressure medication, well, you usually wind up in the hospital or with worse complications, a heart attack or something like that. Well, a person with mental illness, if they don't take their medications, unfortunately, the symptom of that is burning those bridges in relationships, or, in the case of people I get in court, they get arrested for, criminal conduct out in the community. But just like the blood pressure issue, well, if you take your medicine and you go to see the doctor or the counselor on a regular basis, it's pretty manageable. You just got to take those steps, and as a community, we're kind of learning to treat it as an illness more so as these are, because anytime you have a relationship issue, we tend to treat it as, well, this is a personal shortcoming, and if we look at it through the lens of an illness that we can take medicine for and work on, well, that makes it a lot more manageable, and fortunately, then sometimes you can rebuild some of the bridges that have been damaged in the past. So I'm hoping that's the direction we're moving in. Miss Allen, we did talk about Journeys. You haven't reached out to them yet as a possible visit option?
Nope, I didn't reach out to Journeys. And I was wondering, with my firstborn, I went to Bethany Christian Services to do visits. I'm not sure if
we had an agency engaged here. It would be possible. What are your thoughts on that, Miss Harder? Is there an option to utilize an agency for supervised visits other than Journeys?
I have not been able to engage an agency. It usually has to be CPS involved, and
we don't want that.
Exactly.
Right.
And I just want to make clear, I was not trying to make a personal dig, at your history, Drea. I want to make sure that we set up the best possible support system for you, so that, Kiana can come back home. That's part of what I do. So I'm really happy to talk with you and kind of help give you some direction.
Yeah.
And Miss Allen, since you have a phone, would it be possible, if it were possible to set up to do something like we're doing right now, a video visit?
Yes, that would be awesome.
Okay. Well, and those aren't perfect, especially with, younger kids. They last about 2 minutes on a video visit, then they're out to do their next thing. And, my experience though is, they remember that, oh yeah, that's right. I did get a call with mom on, Thursday night or something. It makes a difference to them, because it happened. It doesn't really matter if it lasted an hour or if it lasted 30 seconds, but they remember that scheduled call happened. And I that might be another option, because
I don't want my baby to forget who her mom is, and I feel like she's slowly forgetting me right now. So
yeah, well, and little kids, they're very immediate, right? They kind of look at their immediate surroundings and they say, do I have food and am I warm? Okay, I'm good. But the good news about that is that, when you build those relationships in the right environment, in a safe environment, they're very capable of rebuilding, and they have long, they do remember you from the past, and they can pull at those memories too and say, okay, here's someone who's involved in my life. And the main thing is that occurs in a gradual and a safe way, so that the child feels like, okay, this is a person who's back in my life and I'm safe and it's all good, and we're moving in the same thing that I look for, frankly, is what little kids look for. Am I safe? Am I in safe surroundings? And am I building that relationship? And that's what I'd like to do here. As we go forward, we'll start with some supervised visits, and I'd like to reinstitute those as quickly as we can, either at Journeys, an appropriate agency. If we could get agency involvement, I don't know any way to do that except with the involvement of CPS, and I don't want to get CPS involved here because, frankly, it's another voice and court case and everything else, and just not worth it in my estimation. So let's try Journeys plus video visits. I haven't heard from Holliers yet. Mr. and Mrs. Hollier, what would your thoughts be, about reinstituting on a schedule coordinated with Miss Harder, perhaps some video visits?
Hey, good morning. Well, first of all, video visits, not a problem. And we talked a little bit about, visitations being important. So I just want to share some facts, if I could, for a moment.
Yeah.
So, Judge, you had mentioned in our hearing which was September 9, that they were important to have those parental visits. So we wanted to make sure that we're doing everything possible to support those. October 4 came around, and we still had not heard anything from anybody regarding supervised visits. So we actually reached out because you had mentioned Journeys as a potential source in the last hearing. We reached out to Journeys to find out if they had any availability, spoke with Sandy, who's their intake person, back on October 4, and she confirmed, in fact, they did have availability multiple days of the week. And on October 11th, we sent that information off to Andrea. Whether that was received or not, I don't know, but we sent that to her in a text to the most recent phone number that we had at the time. Separate from Journeys, November 5, Safe Connections, which is the agency, obviously, that Andrea had called, they actually called us and said, hey, we have this case, we've received a call, are you willing to participate? And of course, our answer was yes. So they were going to reach back out to Andrea and then get back to us. We had not heard anything after a little while. So on November 13, we followed up with Safe Connections to just make sure we didn't miss a phone call or an email, and said, hey, we haven't heard anything. What's going on? And the response from Safe Connections at that time was, well, we're still trying to reach out, or rather, we've reached out to Andrea and we have not heard back. So, there was an opportunity, and I think that should be an encouraging note, because that should mean that going forward, there's also opportunities if Andrea wants to really move forward with it. And we're here to do whatever it is to support.
Very good. No, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. And did you want to say something else, Mr. Charlie, or I kind of interrupted you?
Nope. I just wanted the factual history to be out there. So
I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate that you have had that willingness to facilitate these visits. And, just like anything else that involves a schedule and an outside agency and, potentially a cost, sometimes it gets pretty hard to coordinate that stuff. However, I think now that we're all on the same sheet of music, that those in-person could be at YWCA, they could be at Journeys. We'll fill the gaps in between with some video visits at, and my experience with those is if you kind of do a prearranged time and get the video set up and, find a place where, the child can be there and, kind of just an exchange of seeing each other's face and, knowledge that that's going to happen. That's a great starting point. So let's get that rebuilt here so that we can have that in-person connection. And Ms. Allen, I'll have you continue doing your mental health program that you've already set up. Make sure you do make your psychiatrist appointment and, get the meds updated. If they make or recommend changes, you can consider those. I always tell people, well, the doctors know a heck of a lot more than me or anyone else about, what works and what doesn't work in the medication world. And, go with that advice or, get a second opinion if you don't like the advice you got. And the other piece that I'd like to see you add in is that counseling piece. If you've got that counselor that you trust, set up some regular appointments. So next time I see you, you can report that you're you're seeing your person at Arbor Circle regularly, you know, on a whatever schedule she can accommodate. And I know it's around the holidays, and that might look a little bit more like once a month until we get past the first of the year. But once a month is better than no times a month. So let's go for what's available. And same exact thing. I'm sure the visitation places probably do get a little more busy around the holidays, but let's try to do in person, you know, because that is so important for as much time as available. Ms. Harder, is there any funding available at DHHS to assist with the cost of the supervised visitation?
Not in our program, no.
Okay, and I know I previously ordered, and normally that cost is borne by the parent, by Miss Allen. However, Miss Allen, if it does become burdensome, you know, talk to those agencies. Sometimes they have funds available.
Safe Connection has funding. They said they have a program.
Good.
So
Good,
that's why
yeah.
I didn't know I haven't had any. I just recently got a new phone, so that's why it's a new number. So the number everybody was texting was a text now number. So I'm thinking that's why I didn't get, like, I just got the text of when Rachel sent me my baby's Halloween costume is when I was in there. I was like, wait, I see a message from Rachel, and I clicked it. So it's like, I think it's because it was my text now. So it was making me even more upset now because I did miss it. And maybe my baby would be coming home today if I would have went to that visit.
Well, you know, one or two visits, you know, and getting back on schedule. It's never a situation of where one or two, you know, what I look for is consistency over time. You know, is it something that you can do consistently, and you know, everyone, like I say, feels safe and good about that, and then that's something we can build on. And if it's not consistent, well, then that's harder to, you know, use it as a foundation to move forward. So what I'm looking for is consistency. And the number you gave out now, is that a text now, or is that a
No, that is my
like an
official
assigned
phone
number? Good.
It's
Good.
official. That's an official number.
Good. No, that's great. And you know, yeah, no, I know that. Right. Same thing. I've occasionally gone back and holy cow, I got that text from months ago. So
Yeah.
playing a little bit of catch up, that does happen, and it's going to happen here. And I appreciate, you know, you mentioned that patience thing. You know, it applies in all these different little nooks and crannies of life. And you know, I'm glad you did catch up and got, you know, looking at the Halloween costume on Thanksgiving is better than not seeing it at all. So that's some good stuff. So. All right. Well, let's do that. So we're going to continue on the same course, Miss Allen. Psychiatrist counseling, supervised visits, either by in person, well, both in person and by video, at a schedule that you can agree on. Miss Hart, can you do another home study before our next hearing?
Yes.
She can come today. She can come right now.
No, yeah, that would be excellent. She's probably got other appointments today, but I'm sure Miss Hart, now that we've got contact info, we can set that up and get that on course. And Miss Allen, all I'd ask for is patience, recognizing, you know, I know you would love to spend every minute that you can with your daughter, and because, you know, we're kind of restarting this engine here, it takes a little bit of time to get it warmed up again, and we're also working with everyone's holiday schedule, so it might not go quite as quickly as you would like. But do know that as long as when we get them scheduled, and if you make them and you show that consistency, you know, that's really what I'm looking for. It's not so much the volume of time or the amount of hours or minutes or things like that. It's consistency. If you show up for a visit, or you schedule a phone call or a video call, and you make that video call, even if it's for just 5 minutes, and then, you know, the child loses interest or whatever and goes on to the next thing. Well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that's a really good thing, because it shows your commitment and willingness to keep that schedule and to be there. Because, you know, that's really what kids, the other thing I've learned about young kids particularly, they need predictability. They need to know that, okay, I'm coming home from school and I'm getting a snack, and you know, and then I do my homework or whatever. You know, as long as they can kind of predict what the next couple hours hold, well, then they're pretty stable. And when they lose that predictability, that's something that puts them in a spot then that they're not used to dealing with. So let's set up that predictability in the interest of the child here, and everyone's patience is much appreciated. I'll review the matter again after the holidays, so we'll probably be, and I'll extend the temporary guardianship at this time until the next hearing. Lisa, do you have another date for us?
Yes, I have March 10 at 9:30. Is that
That's her birthday.
Well, it seems like it'll be an easy to remember date. Why don't we go for that? March 10th at 9:30 a.m. We can, since it's her birthday, we can bring child while she might be in school or something at the time of the hearing, but we, at the very least, we can talk about how things are going. So that'll be an easy one to remember. I'll extend the guardianship until then. Anything else we ought to state during the court hearing? I'll give you a last chance, Miss Allen.
I'm sorry.
All right, and Mr. and Mrs. Hollier.
I don't think
I
so.
think there's anything else.
Very good, Miss Harder.
No, Your Honor.
Good. Well, thank you all, as I said, for your patience. Your presence today at the hearing, shows me, Miss Allen, if you hadn't shown up at today's hearing, I'd say, well, Miss Allen's kind of lost interest in that. That doesn't seem to be the case at all. You seem to be willing to put in the work, to have a relationship with your daughter. And that's so inspiring to me. And I know March seems like it's forever away right now, but nonetheless, in the big picture, that time's going to go pretty fast. Keep up doing the real positive things that you're doing, and we'll do, the work that we need to do to coordinate some real positive interactions with your daughter and start rebuilding that in-person relationship. And, the holidays are a good time to, you mentioned you're going to church to, have faith that over the long term, things will work out. And I've done this process, many times with many families, and I can tell you, I've seen some wonderful, outcomes, for the child and for the parent. And so sometimes you have to place a little bit of faith, a lot of faith in the Lord and a little faith in the process that, this stuff, even though it doesn't go at the exact, timing everyone wants, it does work over the long term. So I appreciate everyone's patience in that regard and wish everyone a joyful holiday season. With that, we're concluded.